very old civilizations. It's more than 10,000 years old civilizations, and over a period of times, and this is the only surviving civilizations. So we have accumulated a lot of knowledge, developed a lot of knowledge, and on all these things, if we miss that, it is not that whatever knowledge we have developed, we should just stop say developing further. Rather, we should develop further. We have a big base, and we should strengthen that base also and come up with the new creations of knowledge and innovation, etc. So from that point of view, I just focus on this innovations. In fact, my style of this presentation will be different. I will focus on innovations and entrepreneurship first, and then I'll discuss new education policy. And my belief is, I find if you understand innovations, how innovations take place, how knowledge is created, and then the role of entrepreneurship in that, and then you start reading new education policy, I think you will find that this new education policy is a excellent documents, because they are opening up a complete new things for Indian education system. I will just start this. I'll just share the presentation. Is it visible?
It's
Yes, sir.
visible. It's visible, sir. Yes.
Okay. So it's a new education policy 2020 innovations. So I have divided my presentation like this. So it is a two parts. First is innovation and entrepreneurship. So within that, I am just discussing the creativity, innovations, and entrepreneurship relationship. Basically, I'm just explaining. I expected that it is a all teachers and they know creativity, they know innovations and entrepreneurship. But I heard that students have also joined. But nowadays, I think students also have a lot of exposure, so they also understand. I think maybe better than others also. So it's a basically the creativity, innovations, and entrepreneurship relationship. I have used some framework, models, figures. Then because nowadays we are facing this coronavirus problems, COVID-19 pandemics, and we know that it has changed so many things. So I just looked at that even in this case also, we are right now, everyone is looking towards a new vaccine. So how this new vaccine is also innovations. So what is the process that the different countries, it's a global challenge, it's a global crisis. So globally, a different level, different institutions and the governments, they are working to develop this. So how they are developing, so whether they are following the traditional methods of drug development, or there is a, because we find because of the, it's a critical natures, its importance, so they have cut down number of say stages, academic research, etc. But still, if you look at that its development, this also shows the creativity, innovations, and then when you are going to commercialize, it is a entrepreneurship also. So I say, as a just case, COVID-19 vaccines and cutting short period for development of this because of its critical need. Then this innovations, we know that innovation is not it's a new things. It has been in people have been innovating so many things, and over a period of time, one of the very important event is the industrial revolution when it started. And so innovations to industrial revolution, and now it is not just a one industrial revolution. We find the fourth industrial revolution is undergoing right now. So again, I'm just focusing on that. Then I'm looking at that, basically, that when you are to develop something new, so it is not just a one individual or one organizations, it's a system. So and we find that everywhere in most of the countries, the innovation system also varies depending on the institutions they have, their quality, their history of the country, its institutions, and their resources owned by them. So basically, a unique combination of all these uh, is a feature of innovation systems in different countries. So innovation system in India is different. In US, it is different. In some of the countries, we find that they have a very developed innovation system because their ranking in the innovation, they keep on coming up with new innovations. So all that. Then I'm just going to discuss that right now, there is a lot of discussions globally also along with this COVID-19, that US-China tech war. Basically, it is a trade war, but in reality, it is a tech war. Then India's challenges. So I find that India has missed its earlier industrial revolutions, but now when it's a fourth industrial revolution is there, we cannot miss this. So with this first part, I find if you look at the new education policy, it is an excellent piece of this documents, very good. The only key is the implementations. Okay, now I'll just and then the second part is about new education policy. I think the lot of, if you look at the YouTube, lot of discussion is taking place, many seminars and all that. So many things you will find that you have listened, you have heard, you have studied, but I'm just going to relate the critical issues which are important for creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So looking at in the school educations, what is important, the learning modes that they are saying, the pace that everyone can learn on its own pace also, and multidisciplinarity as a concept. The similarly that the centrality of teachers, that they are very much they are emphasizing. Then in the higher education also, all these things, some the challenges they have discussed and how they are going to bring change in the education system, higher education system, and the research and innovation. So it will be maybe that you will find something, but if you focus on the first part, understand and keep in mind the creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship relationship, and then within and its link with the education systems. So I think then this second part will be very clear to you. So this is the first slide. Creativity to innovation is a basic framework. I think everyone has this in their mind. They have a understanding that it is a creativity, the act of turning new and imaginative ideas into reality. You get a lot of ideas. So some of the ideas that you start working on, that you come up with a new concept, new ideas. So that is the innovations. And this innovation is again further turned into a innovations. So it's a relationship. Creativity leads to inventions of new ideas, new technologies, new concept, and then it is turned into a innovations, turning a new concept into commercial success of widespread use. So this is a further, it's the extension of the same, that here it's a applied creativity. It's a say just repetitions in a different forms. So applied creativity means what? That discovery. This discovery of new ideas, knowledge, concept. Then inventions. Invention is of a technologies, even business model. Nowadays, it is not just a technology that is the innovations. Even the way you are going to deliver your product to the customers. So which particular model you are going to follow, that is also innovation. And we have find that in case of energy issues, solar energy, even in case of now this COVID-19 also, the way you are going to deliver this to the target groups, that here there is a lot of scope for innovations. So business model is that even the different companies, they are working on this, that what type of business model innovations they should have. So business model innovation is also a new things, and it's becoming very important, looking at that reaching the customers, and it's not easy, and using modern technologies and other things. So discovery, invention, and innovations, again useful implementations, commodities, goods, service, experience. So it's again the same, creativity to innovations. This is again, then I have added here the commercializations. Commercial, basically innovations is definitely it's a developing a commercial viable product in the market, and how you are going to commercialize that. Here the role of entrepreneurship is required. So this is like that you have a uncodified lot of ideas. So out of these ideas, some ideas are codified in the form of processes, database, documents, drawings. Then you develop that in the form of a product or service or business models, and then you commercialize that. So I'm just repeating that, but in a different form, just showing the relationship between again the creativity, invention, innovations, and entrepreneurship. This is it's a more detailed about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship means what? So you have an idea, you define that idea, you test it, design it, then brand it, and fund it, protect that idea, and then make that product, and then launch it, sell it in the market. So you see that there are many things which an entrepreneur is doing, and without the entrepreneurs, that idea will remain an idea. So in order to convert a useful idea, a successful ideas, we need a entrepreneurs. So basically, this also shows that innovation is not just a say contribution of just a one innovators, inventors, or innovators. It requires a large number of other institutions to commercialize that particular product in the market. It requires a marketing people, even the financiers, even when you are going to manufacturers, again the technology providers are also required. Even in case of a that it requires the government rules and regulations are also there. So if you look at this whole innovation systems consist of all those institutions, individuals who are going to help or support or facilitate a product, a development of a product, and then carrying that product and delivering that product to the customer. So all those forces, the factors or the institutions, the entrepreneurs or these organizations, all they forms a innovation system. So this is all about this. This is a further innovations and entrepreneurship, innovation, then inventions and entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is entrepreneurs transform new knowledge into new value through three distinct activities: opportunity evaluation, personal commitment, and manage that implementation. So it's a opportunity evaluation means they say embraces two main factors: generic issues, contextual influences. So it's a innovations and entrepreneurship relationship. Now it's say about the COVID-19 pandemics, that how this mobilization of global resources and capacity is taking place. It's a global crisis. It's a small crisis. And that's why we find it is not just a one organization which is involved in developing a drugs. It is a whole range of different institutions, organizations all over the world. They have mobilized. Say basically because of the global crisis, there is a global level mobilization of resources and capacities. And one more thing is that in case of earlier we looked at the inventions and then innovations and commercializations. Here in this case, we find that there are some shortcut also, and moreover, I find that because of the new technology available, the digitalization, artificial intelligence, all these new technologies which are available, it's possible to cut short the time frame also. So we find that academic research has been cut short in this case straight away by using the past knowledge of the viruses. So they use that and they started with the clinical trials. And even the clinical trial also, clinical trials number 1, 2, 3 simultaneously taking place. So you start with this and immediately you start with the second, third. So and then the manufacturing will take place and they are going to produce this. So even for approval also, you see that many of these they have already submitted to the respective governments for approvals and distributions. They are making arrangements that what type of a warehousing facilities they require, what type of say cold storage facilities they require. So all these things are happening simultaneously. So we find that generally in case of most of the drugs where the time period taking for developing a product was running into 3 to 10 years. Here we have cut short that period to just 1.5 years. There is another slides that also shows that how that the whole process is taking place. Look at this: innovations to entrepreneurship, innovative drugs, cutting short the periods. So preclinical testing based on the useful information from other related viruses. The usual time of doing all these things was 5 to 10 years. But now, say, because of the simultaneous use of this, it is moving 6 to 9 months simultaneously. Second phase is a clinical testing, phase 1, phase 2. Again, a lot of time was required in the normal course, but now simultaneous this development is taking place. And then we are going to have this within a, say, 10, another 3-4 months time, that the mass vaccinations process will start, the distributions. So you see that here also the innovation is taking place, and then you require this distributing these drugs also in the market. It requires a large number of entrepreneurs because it is a global crisis. So existing structure, existing entrepreneurs, existing organizations are being involved in delivering this product also. But in case of some other product, the process will be different. So this also shows the role of innovation. Why I'm just showing all these things is that I'm relating it with the latest this issue also, that the innovation is very, very important, because the things are changing every time. Say new challenges are coming. When new challenges are coming, we require, say, new types of solution also. So it becomes very important that every country should have that capacity to come up with the new things, new solutions, new product, so that they can meet the new challenges. So it requires this innovation. It shows that innovation is very, very important. So now I'm just coming that if you look at this the type of innovation we see right now, it's not just it's the older one. In fact, a range of innovations have taken place. In fact, there is a bunch of innovations which led to a total socio techno paradigm shift also over a period of times. And generally we say that when you combine number of these innovations which are linked with one key and generic and innovations, so we say that it is an industrial revolution. So we find that right now there are fourth industrial revolution is taking place. So first was started with the industrial revolution 1765. It was all mechanizations led with this steam engine. Second was with the mass productions driven by electricity and oil-based power. And third was a automated productions, basically supported by electronics and information technologies. And now we are running this fourth industrial revolutions, new technologies, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud, quantum computing, even biotech, nanotech. All these are linked with this. All this is a bunch of new technologies. They are bringing a complete change in the industrial systems, production systems, and the way people are going to use that and operate and manage their life also. So it's a history of this. So we are running right now the fourth industrial revolutions. So this shows about that innovation system, that why this type of industrial revolution has taken place first in Britain and then in US. So it shows that some uniqueness of different these countries in terms of their institutions, their history, their resources. So nowadays we find that innovation systems are also of a different size. One is a global innovation system, and we find that how this global innovation system is working to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. Then there is a national. So national is that, say, India's innovation system, that how India is doing research and engaged in innovations, what type of innovations they have developed. So this, then regional also, that as you find in case of India also, we have a Bangalore as a regions, where that IT and IT linked and high tech area is there. They are coming up with a new solution, new productions. In case of IT, we say it's a Silicon Valley of India. Similarly, this uh, our this national capital region is also one of the reasons. Pune is also a, Pune is also the Western uh, India is also one of the reasons where there is a lot of focus on developing automobile industries, etc. So basically, the technological innovations, sectoral innovations, organizational innovations, all these are all linked with this. So there are different types of systems which are operating at a global level, at national level, and regional level. So we need to understand that, and wherever we find that there is a gap, we need to strengthen that. Here the role of this educational system is very, very important. So I'm just now coming to the innovation system, and where is this education system, how you place education systems in this whole system of innovation. So this is a very, very big this framework. It shows the all the different aspect of uh, this innovation systems. So we have a macroeconomic and regulatory context, communication infrastructure, factor market conditions, and then product markets, and then education and training systems. And within that, we are having this, say, global innovation system, the national innovation systems, regional innovation system, etc. This is national innovation capacity leads to the performance of the countries. Basically, when all these things are properly mixed and worked in harmony with each other's, the performance is excellent in terms of growth, jobs, and competitiveness. So within that, the main thing is about the firm's capabilities, science systems, supporting institutions, other research bodies, etc. And is this particular figure shows that education and the training system is just a one of the part in addition to that, but this education and training system is influencing all other parts. If you see, even in case of a firm's capabilities also, that who are going to manage that firms, it is again that very capable people who have studied a lot, have gained experience, so they are going to be the key persons to have the this that firms have a capability in using that talent, etc. Science system is also based on this educations, the communication infrastructure. Basically, that you see that the educations and technologies, again, they are linked with each other. It is a education system that helps creating new technologies also. People study and then develop a new technologies, and this new technologies again led to a change in the education systems, strengthening the education system. So all these things are linked with each other. But education system is very, very important, and we find that there is a triple X model also, where we find that the innovation system consists of, it is a educational system, basically education, academic institutions, industry, and the governments. So basically they also link with each other to forms and develop a type of innovation system in a one particular countries. This is a bigger picture that shows the different linking uh, factors. Now I'm just coming to this US trade war or tech war. Because we find, say, also very, very say current things that we find during the last few years after the Trump, that we find that the US entered into a trade war with this. But we know that in we go deep into that, we find it is a technology war. And this war is also that the way this China is targeting industry 4 technologies. Industry 4 technologies, again, that we have discussed, is a artificial intelligence, 5G, Internet of Things, quantum computing, biotech, nanotech. So basically, US woke up to the challenge when China initiated its industrial policy 2025 to target 10 technologies in 2015. Basically, they have identified 10 technologies. One of the first technology is, it's a uh, this artificial intelligence. Second is a robots, and then a very sophisticated advanced this manufacturing, and many other things. They are around 10. And when they started working on that, and they are already, we find, because of the Huawei's 5G technologies, that they released that 5G technologies and started working on that. So it was a very cheaper, it was available at a cheaper rate, and it is a base for modern digital infrastructure. So it alarmed the US and other its partners that if the China is able to lay down the digital infrastructure and control digital infrastructure of the number of countries, it will be a completely change. It will become a dominating country in the world. So that is one of the reasons why we find that there is a tech war. And basically, definitely there are some issues, there are security issues, and their linkage, Huawei's links with the Chinese military and government is also there. But main thing is that the US also saw that if they are able to lead in this new technology, 5G technologies, and they are able to set their own standard of 5G technologies, then it will be very difficult to change that, because the other technologies will be based on that 5G standards that the China will set. So this basically the fight of even the standards, etc., is also there. So we find that the now everyone is saying that and they are saying that the one who is going to dominate the world is who will dominate the world. The world will be dominated by the one who can control the artificial intelligence. Your control on artificial intelligence, your dominance in artificial intelligence will lead to a dominance of the world. So all these things, you see that the things have changed drastically globally. So there are some challenges, national level challenge, global level challenge, and this change in the global power shift is also a very important because of the tech war, technology development. So now just come to the India's challenges. So what are the India's challenges? India has missed all the industrial revolutions. Can we miss the present one, industrial revolution 4? Well, this is a very big question that is coming to in different circles and debate, etc. India has a aspirational country having global presence and historically has been a leading country in the world, as we have discussed. The Dr. Ravi Kar also discussed that we as a old civilizations, we have developed our knowledge, wisdom, etc. We have been a leading country in the world also. If you look at that in the 1820 also, the India's the total GDP was 25%. Along with China, it was more than 50%. So basically, both these countries, India, China, were dominating the world manufacturing, even at late at 1800 century. So basically, and from there we find because of colonizations, etc., we have declined steadily. So after independence, definitely we have developed some technologies, and many of the science and technology that we have developed are all mission driven. Whenever there was a crisis, this is also a uniqueness of our India's present India. Wherever there is a crisis, so we come up with something to solve that crisis. So it is not a natural phenomena. So that way, that new education policy, if we change the education policy completely, it will change the whole system, that we are not going to be dependent on crises to come up with the new reforms, etc. Rather, we should build our we should train our youth. India is a the most youngest country in the world, with a say 62% of the its population is the young populations, is say in the age of 15 to 62, and we are talking about demographic dividend, etc. So basically we need uh, to train this youth in such a manner that they take this country to a new height. So that's why this we should not be dependent on crisis. Even in today's thing also, that Atmanirbhar Bharat package and even education policy is all coming when there is a crisis. Even in the space nuclear technologies, defense missiles technology, etc., we have a global standing. So there are areas where we have proved ourselves. We need to take this to a all other areas. We have a plenty of challenges. We need to solve those challenges. While looking at that, why we have been able to come up the challenges in the area of space, nuclear technologies, defense, etc. So we can do wonders in other areas also. So why we are not doing? So it requires a change in the mindset. And here, this new education policy is a very, very important initiative. So we have a strength in several areas, need to be further strengthened, and it requires a motivation and system change. So present challenges also, everyone is talking about employment, and we have a demographic dividend to be exploited. Aspirational India is there. Young people are having a lot of aspirations. We are continuing with the old problems of, along with this employment problems, old problems of poverty, illiteracy, malnutrition, etc. is continuing. Modern technological change and advancement, they are going to replace the manual labors, and they are going to require a skilled manpower. This is also a very big challenge, that we are talking about employment, and at the same time you see that the modern technology is moving in a direction that is going to replace the unskilled labors. So it is going to further aggravate the situations of unemployment. So we need a solution for that. Climate change and environmental issues, everyone is talking. The Paris Agreement is there. We have also committed to reduce the emissions level. Then pandemic and crisis is a recent one. Geopolitical shift, I have just mentioned that the emergence of expansionist China, authoritarian China is a big problem. So all these challenges, when you have so many challenges, so what is required? India needs a social stability and prosperity for all. This is a that we are saying that our development imperatives is that we should ensure this economic security, national security, livelihood security, food security, energy security, and in nowadays a cyber security also. The way we are moving towards digitalizations, this cyber security is also, and cyber space security is becoming very, very critical. So all these things are required. So if you go deep into all these things, we find that we require a peoples who can take up these challenges. And how they will take up this challenge, it requires all innovations and entrepreneurship. And this innovation and entrepreneurship requires a change in the innovations, our this education policy. So people become, say, economically independent, and they take up this challenge also willingly, instead of just going for a jobs, that whether the new young peoples can be trained to create jobs also. So this is a very big challenge. So if you look at these issues, we find that all these things shows that and after this, if you look at the new education policy, you find this new education policy is very, very useful. It is going to transform the education system in the country. This is also a one slides that I just, in fact, last time also there was a presentation in your college, and I made a presentation about this India's present status in innovations. What is the present status? We have discussed that we have developed number of these technologies also, but it is a third largest country in terms of GDP, second largest in terms of populations, huge agricultural land, water resources, minerals, lot of resources. Nature has blessed India with lot of resources, and largest youth population in the country, as I'm just repeating this. And then innovation ranking, very recently that there is a global innovation index 2020 on 2nd September 2020. They have released the industrial ranking. It is more than 150 countries. So they have ranked different countries on innovations. So India has improved its position. So it was a 85 rank in 2015, improved to 52, and now it has improved to 48 positions. Out of this 100 global science and technology cities, India has 3 cities: Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Delhi. And then the characteristics of India's innovation system, they have mentioned, is a enormous knowledge capital India has in terms of people, the talent and all that. Vibrant startup ecosystem has come up. If you compare this ecosystem also, India is the third largest ecosystem after US and Europe. India's the startup ecosystem is the third largest, and amazing work done by private and public labs. Basically, both private organizations and public organizations, they are working and coming up with a new things, new solutions. But generally, most of the things when we go deep into that, we find that the public lab or Indian organizations are mainly focusing on processes and organizational innovations, whereas in case of MNCs, R&D organizations are focusing on product and patents. So this startup ecosystem is emerging in number of cities along with Bengaluru, Mumbai and Delhi, in Pune also, Hyderabad also. So all these forms a part of the bigger innovation systems. So and it is all, it's not a new things. Basically, earlier also number of reforms have been taken place. Current market trends are also favorable. Impact of technology, digitalization is there. Even changing attitude of governments and companies and societies is also responsible for the development of this the new startup ecosystems. But is it enough? Basically, when we look at this, we have it's a third largest this country in terms of GDP, second largest in terms of 135 billion people, and our ranking is say 48th. So it shows that we have to improve a lot. We need to think in detail, in deep into this, that why, how we can say unlock our entrepreneurial strength and talent to meet the challenge of this and be a more innovative nations and country. So we need education policy to meet the challenge of self-reliance, socially conscious, resilient and competitive India. Global education development agenda, if say a sustainable development goal 4 2030, they have also focused on this to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So globally also this is a realizations that we need to develop a this the education system in different countries, and it should be a quality education should be provided to all, and lifelong learning should be opportunity should be provided to all. We also need to develop a new 21st century skills. So what are the 21st century skill? We keep on hearing the 21st century skill because of again this need for innovations and new technologies. It's all linked with this creative thinking, collaborations, communications, creativity and leadership. So it's all, everyone is talking that we need to develop this. And if you look at our India also, we find that if you analyze the country and its education system, we lack that. There are some centers, some institutions where there is a lot of focus on this, but by and large we lack that. So we need a drastic reforms. We have a vibrant say we need a vibrant educational institutions and universities which follows dynamic changes and maintain quality standards from national and international perspective. Complete reforms of existing institutions to develop self-confident, self-reliant youth who are able to achieve their full potential. Even I was just attending just few days back, there was a seminar where one person, he spoke about this, that even IIMs and IIT graduates are looking for jobs. So basically expectation is that there are premium institutions and their graduates should come up with a new solutions, new innovations and all these things. But in most of the cases, they are also looking towards these jobs. So it requires a change of mindset and develop an equitable and just society. So basically, this first part shows things are changing, the context has changed. So all this requires a new type of education policy, because we find the existing policy that we are using is not sufficient. So basically we find this new education policy is coming after a 30 years. It's going to transform this. So it shows that it's a game changer. If you, again I'm repeating that if you look at the innovations, creativity and technology issues And then you start reading that, you will find definitely it is a game changer. It's a completely a different types of this policy has been declared, initiated by the government. So context has changed, new challenges has come up, new technology has come up. So there is a need to again reconfigure our innovation policy, radically change that. So 30 years is a big periods. So some of the principles that they are talking about, it's a access, equality, affordability, quality, and accountability. They have mentioned in the education policy that these are some of the principles of higher education also on which they are going to work. Educational institutions. And one more thing, that when you look at this education policies, so educate and the institutions, educational institutions create knowledge and participate in the innovations. At the same time, they develop individuals also who are willing and talented to undertake innovations after getting knowledge and education. They need to be encouraged to be entrepreneur. So it's not that a knowledge creation, even entrepreneurs for developing entrepreneurs in both these areas, the role of educational institution is very important. So educational institutions are supporting entrepreneurs and startup also through incubation centers, and we find a big institutions, they are coming up with this. They have incubation centers, they provide support to the young peoples who have some ideas. They help them in getting finance also, even provide initial period also in the institutions. So the educational institutions are very important for startup culture, ecosystems, and developing a entrepreneurs. So here we find that, so that's why we need a big change in the, there is a some good institutions, but we need to have a more institutions, good institutions with a different mindset to focus on innovations, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So we find that there are some quantitative and qualitative changes which have been suggested by this new education policy. The thrust on practicality and skill development, breaking the stereotypical divide of arts. This is a very a novel type of things, because earlier we were thinking if you are a student of arts or commerce or science, so we'll focus on that. But now they are saying that we should allow them to mix up. The students should be allowed to take up this, but definitely it is going to create some problems of that, how you are going to manage that, implement that. It requires a innovative thinking, that whatever idea is, that looking at the interests of the students and the child also, if they are interested to have one science program course and other commerce programs, so they should be encouraged, they should be allowed, they should be facilitated. So they should be allowed to facilitate their own interests, to pursue their interests in ways they feel that they would like. And if you offer them a course in which they feel interested, definitely their performance will be better. So this is a new type of thinking has been incorporated in this, that where we are going to think in terms of allowing students to offer a multidisciplinary approach. They can offer different courses. In fact, this particular issue is very important from the point of view of innovations, because if you see the innovation is not just a technology. Innovation require the financing also. Innovations require that when you are going to take that your product to the market, you need to interact the people, you need to understand the society, you need to understand their other things, their needs, their requirements. So all these things, basically this innovation is a multidisciplinary aspect. So we need to develop people with a multidisciplinary approach. So from that angle, this there is a big change in the new education policy. It is going to help innovations and entrepreneurship. Reorganize schooling years, 5 plus 3 plus 4. Then it's the same, but they have added at the foundational level, they have added 2 more years of this place school in the schooling, formal schooling, making educational system more inclusive. Permission to foreign university also. Some people are very critical of this, that why foreign universities are being encouraged. They are saying that top, I think 100 universities will be allowed to set up their base. But you see that it is going to create a competition also. So it may be good. Let us see how things span out. Then thrust on Indians and foreign language. This is also very, very important, that there is a focus that we should that initial teaching should be in a local or mother tongue. So this is also very important because it will add to a learning and interest to the study also. Then it's a basically earlier some of the qualitative change. Then institutional governance is also going to change. The periodic inspecting to self-assessment is that you are going to trust the institutions, and voluntary declarations by the with transparencies, quality standards, and positive perceptions. Single lean structure with four verticals. Basically, right now we have many institutions, governing institutions. UGC is there, AICT is there, NAC is there. So now they are saying that there will be one body with a four verticals. One will be focusing on standard setting, one on funding, another on accreditation, and then regulations. So this should be a light but tight oversight. Now, if you read the new education policies, the first introductions, that also make things very, very clear. If you again, I'm just going that look at the innovations and other things, and then you look at this, you will find the things are very, very clear. They have very clearly laid down the changes that we see, that I have also discussed the changes of technological change, climate change, pandemics related issues, employment landscape is changing, global ecosystem is changing. So they observe that the learning is the key. When the things are changing and you are to survive in the new environment, so you need to learn. So learning becomes very, very key. And we find that when you go for the survey of the schools and colleges, the current learning outcomes study that there is a lot of gaps in the reality. Expectation is this, that the learning should take place, but in reality it is not happening. So actually there is a lot of gaps. So that is what is leading to a think in terms of reforms. At the same time, because of the learning gaps and addressing growing development imperatives that I have discussed, that and then it requires a because of all these revisions and revamping of educational structure is required. So new innovation, new this education system with the aspirational goal and the 21st century that we have discussed. Yeah, this SDG 4 goal is focusing on universalization of education, of high quality education, lifelong learning opportunities, etc. And one more thing that we find is that Dr. Ravikar also discussed, that India's tradition and value system. And when you will read that at different level, even at the school level education, even at the this higher education level, there is a repeatedly focus on that we should base our this knowledge systems, etc. And we should think in terms of using our traditions, India's traditional value system, knowledge system, and then develop it further with the latest happenings, the contemporary, say, technologies, knowledge, etc. So we should not ignore that the accumulated knowledge base that we have, that should also be used. And that also shows. And one more thing that we observed in this is they are discussing that our old education system, Gurukul based education system, was not that they were just studying about the commerce or arts or even say the science. So it was a multidisciplinary. So there was a range of different knowledge systems. All these systems were taught to the students in the Gurukul system. So it was and there was say they were also doing a lot of work, activities also. There is even in the Taittiriya Upanishad also there is a one story about that how that Shishya is asked by the Guru to go to the this forest and take the 100 cows and come with the cow after some time when you multiply that cows. So basically that learnings, that learning through working was also there in case of a Gurukul system. That is what we are going, even in the new education policy, they are insisting, they are emphasizing that hand-on learning is required at the school level, at the college level. So that should be incorporated. So basically, it's all, then they are thinking and looking at the ancient, our tradition, value system, etc. So ancient and eternal Indian knowledge and thought should be incorporated. They should be exposed to that, and knowledge, and that's all these things, that knowledge for complete realization and liberation of life. Then there is a principles that they are talking about, the principle, the purpose of education is to develop good human beings capable of rational thoughts and actions, and possessing these compassion, empathy, courage, resilience, scientific temper, creative imagination. Though all these things are not new, we find that even the others also, but in the context, in the present context, when you relate this, so you find that all these things are becoming very, very important. So the aim is producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our constitutions. So education for them, then they are talking about educational institutions also, that the students are welcomed and cared. We are safe and stimulating, are well, the type of institution that we have where students are welcomed and cared, where safe and stimulating a learning environment is there, range of learning experience is there, good physical resources and appropriate resources are there. Then they have discussed about number of principles, and basically if you look at the school education or this, all these things based on this principle, the fostering the unique capabilities, foundational literacy, numeracy, the flexibility in learning modes and pace, no hard separation between arts and science, multidisciplinary and holistic education, conceptual understanding should be focused, learning should be focused instead of rote learning, creativity and critical thinking. So all these things are important for encouraging logical decision making and innovations. Ethics and humans and constitutional values, they are talking about promoting multilingualism, life skills like communication, cooperation, team spirit, and resilience, regular formatting, assessment, use of technologies, respect for diversity and respect, full equity and inclusion, synergy in curriculum across all levels. Teachers and faculty are the heart of the system. They have a number of places they have mentioned that all these things require, say, engaging a motivated teacher also. Teacher is very, and then for them they have talked about even the different types of training systems. So this is about regulations, etc. I'm just going to skip. The vision also, if you look at the vision, is the same, that we want to make India a global knowledge superpower. And they have discussed that about this fundamental duties and constitutional duties to develop knowledge, skill, values, dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living and global well-beings, thereby reflecting a truly global citizens. School education I can skip, but in the school education there is a, they talk about this curriculum integration of essential subjects, skills, and capacity. This particular section is important from the point of view of innovations and entrepreneurship. They have listed a subject and skills, and they want that all these skills and subjects should be taught to the students, so to develop their capacity also. They are talking about skills. There is a one in the skill set they are talking about. Last is the current affairs and knowledge of critical issues facing local communities, states, country, and the world. So this is a very, very important. When people are exposed to the problems of the country, the local communities, so they know the challenges. So, and then they are encouraged that they are to solve these challenges. So that will bring a lot of creativity, a lot of new innovations also. They discuss about contemporary subject, mathematics and mathematical thinking, and fun course, basically vocational, that every students who is coming out of that school, they should have some vocational training, one or two vocational training skills they should have. Then the knowledge of India, they are focusing that it's very important, so that they can come up with their new things, they can think about challenges. Ethical and dimensions and constitutional values have been emphasized at number of places. Then all this curriculum, basically they say all this curriculum and pedagogy should be redesigned and rooted in India, local context and ethos in terms of culture, traditions, heritage, custom, language, philosophy, geography, ancient and contemporary knowledge, societal and scientific needs, indigenous and traditional ways of learning, etc. And they also focus on this, that ensure that all these issues that we are discussing and highlighted should be relatable, relevant, interesting and effective. So you see that it's also telling you that how to make this teaching also very interesting to the students, etc., and rooted in the Indian and local geographical context. And then they talk about teachers also. In case of a higher educations, again, they are saying it's a high quality universities and colleges are required. All these institutions are a living organisms. This is a very, very important. It's not that the government institution is different, others are different. It's like a living organisms. They need a regular quality check. Use of innovative and contemporary diagnostic tools are required to check whether they are keeping a good health or not. This is a very, very important, and that requires a big change in the regulation also, and changing the mindset of the governing bodies of all these colleges, institutions, and even the teachers also should need to understand that a regular health checkup is required of all institutions. Aim is to develop good, thoughtful, well-rounded and creative individuals and all these things. Then here again I have mentioned about 21st century skills are critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity and leadership. A higher quality higher education must enable personal accomplishment and enlightenment, constructive public engagement, and productive contribution to the society. It must prepare students to more meaningful and satisfying lives and work roles, and enables economic independence. And holistic, they are focusing on holistic individuals. In fact, in this, they have discussed clearly the major challenges. Whatever challenges has been discussed, they have all identified that challenges about the higher education in India, fragmented education systems, less emphasis on development of cognitive skills and learning, rigid separation of disciplines, limited access to, access to the socially, economically disadvantaged areas, the limited teachers and institutional autonomy, inadequate mechanisms. So all these problems they have highlighted, and using this problem, then they are suggesting that what changes are required in the education system. So basically, they are saying that, say, moving towards a higher education system consisting of large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. So they have uh, given that there will be a three different types of institutions: more multidisciplinary undergraduate educations, moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy. So all these, that the problem they have discussed, they are discussing that how these problems should be solved. So they, whatever they have discussed is a solution to this. Now we say second last is the research and innovations, because if you, again I'm repeating that if you look at the innovation, etc., so there is a lot of information that how we can think in terms of creativity, innovations in the whole systems, how we can come up with change the system, how we can even train the teachers also, how we should have provide more autonomy to this, and how these students are exposed to the challenges and the problems of local, state and the national level. So they say that knowledge creation and research is critical for economy, society. Most prosperous civilization, the present and the past, they have been a very strong knowledge society, like India also. Even the present strong nations like US and Europe, they are very strong knowledge society. So robust ecosystem of research is required, and they have identified important areas. And they say in India also the R&D expenditure is low, it need to be improved and further. There are a number of societal challenges. All these challenges need to be handled by this the young peoples. In addition to that, that they talk about solution to the any countries identity, upliftment, spiritual, intellectual satisfaction, and creativity is all attained in a major way through its history, art, language, and culture. Research in the arts and humanities, along with innovations in the science and social sciences, are therefore extremely important for the progress. So it's not that they are talking about innovations only in the science and technologies. Even in the arts and humanities, also the lot of creativity is the scope is there. It should be focused. India has a long historical tradition has been recognized. Transforming the quality and quantity of research is there. A new this a National Research Foundation has been proposed, and then that will coordinate with the existing funding research. So now this is the last. I think I have taken a lot of time. So that last point is that it's a basically if you go deep into that, it's a very it's a though it's a 60 pages document, but it's a हिंदी में कहते हैं वो गागर में सागर भरा हुआ basically one paragraph is full of informations and the content also. So it's a transformational policy. Implementation is a very important. How you are going to implement it needs coordination at the center and state level. It requires coordination at the state level also across different institutions. Then universities and institutions collaboration is also required. Then teachers are also very critical. Basically, the teachers here that their willingness, cooperations, engagement, commitments are very critical. So with these words, I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such nice deliberation on the subject and connecting this topic of innovations with the culture of innovations with the system of education in the country. I'm sure the students and all the participants will benefit hugely, immensely from this talk. May I invite Principal Sir for the concluding remarks towards the conclusion of this the session, sir?
Thank you, sir.
नहीं sir, बिल्कुल नहीं. It was so interesting.
Thank you, sir, for such a lucid and a complete narratives. You have given a narrative for all of us to think over it. At the outset, madam, before I say anything, there are some questions also.
Yes, sir.
So you can take those questions. Rather, we should give chance to others to engage in some discussion. Only one thing I wanted to tell all the audience, whoever is, we are also starting. I think we'll be very soon starting a series. This is the beginning.
Yes.
On NEP. So we'll be starting. Even I have got some very good proposals to for as Sir was also saying, the implementation is the real challenge before all of us. So we'll be we'll be starting a lot of brainstorming on implementation of NEP. So very soon we will have the inaugural session where again I'll be requesting Professor Paul sir to join us. So we'll be starting a brainstorming session for this implementation of NEP. So very soon it will materialize. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Kriti will be taking a few questions. Kriti.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all the faculty members. Sir, I would like to address a few questions asked by our audiences. Among that, sir, the first one is from Vinod Johri. He's asking that, is it feasible to introduce grading or ranking system for the innovation in our institution to encourage innovation?
Yes, it is possible. They are talking about standards. Even you see that when they are talking about that there are three different types of educational institutions: research universities, research cum teaching universities, and then teaching universities. So I think it's very much possible to grade that also. That how much innovations you have done, you are engaged in the research, everything is possible. At a global level also, when I just talked to you, I informed that there is an index. They rank different countries on the basis of their innovations, their innovative infrastructure, their innovation knowledge. So a lot of information is available. You can grade that. It's not a very difficult thing. And basically, this is also becoming nowadays a trend that to come up with the index. I was just there is one student who is going to submit that he has developed a agriculture sustainable index also. It's for PhD. He's a very senior government official. So he is just going to submit that. So nowadays, because of the measurement because of the technology and a lot of informations are available. So this grading is possible.
Thank you.
Here also, I would like to point what Professor Kaul said. Already we have this rankings as far as innovation is concerned. So this Ministry of Education under this Innovation Council, they rank institutions. So ours is a non-technical institution, but we have an Innovation Council where our Innovation Council is ranked every year. Similarly, there is a specific ranking for the technical institutions also that is known as ATL, I think ATL Innovation Ranking. So this has also come
So it's
into
called
place.
ARIA,
Yeah.
Atal ranking of innovations.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And besides that, global level also a lot of indexes are there. Even I am being invited in this June to this where Seoul National University, they have a World University Ranking Framework where I was so happy that on that meeting, Delhi University was also declared one of world's 25th best innovative university. So that is a very great achievement. I don't know whether the university knows it now or not, but I was being invited. Your IQAC, Dr. Kusha was also there. So Seoul National University, they have also a ranking system, World University Ranking, where on innovation criteria, our university also stood 25th, which is a very big achievement.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, another question is there from one of our faculty members, Dr. Neha ma'am. Regarding this, she says that the concept of positive distraction, that is, people stop innovating when they get a job or get an initial start for a startup. She asks that would NAP assist us to get a persistent behavior to regard and create ideas forever?
Yes, I think again this education system is required that you are going for a short terms gains or a long terms. If you have a commitment to the society, commitment to the nations, so I think you will feel that whatever you have done is not enough. You continuously you keep on thinking about the new higher goals, even further improvements. That is required definitely. And ultimately you see that the whole world is becoming so competitive, it's becoming so competitive, and because of this digitalization, etc., if you are not if you stop innovating, you will be out of the market. So I think the market will throw you out of this. So it is becoming important now that you should keep on improving yourself, even as an individual also. It is not for a startup, even for an individual also, that people will stop recognizing you. So you should keep on thinking and developing and growing. हमारे यहाँ तो कहते हैं ये पूर्णता की बात करते हैं, ओम पूर्णमिदा पूर्णमिदम की बात करते हैं कि यू कीप ऑन स्ट्राइविंग फॉर द परफेक्शन.
Any more questions, Kriti?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So before we go on to conclude the session, sir, for the final formal vote of thanks, may I request all the participants to switch on their videos for a while so that we can take a screenshot for our website? Kriti, will you do the needful?
Ma'am, Akash will be doing that. I have
Okay. Okay, Akash, please do the needful. And please let me know when it is done. Okay, I think it is done. Thank you so much. Now over to you, Unnati, for a formal vote of thanks. Unnati. So the students are already taking the initiatives.
Ma'am, I think I am unable.
Unnati, you are not audible, beta. Yeah.
Ma'am, audible right now?
Yeah, start talking. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your fruitful words. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks for today's session. I, Unnati Karan, on behalf of the sincere thanks to Honorable Speaker, Professor B.K. Kaul, sir, respected Principal Sir, respected IC convener, and all faculty team members, my fellow student council members, and all dear participants for making today's event a resounding success. I'm grateful to Professor V.K. Kaul sir for taking time out from his busy schedule to enlighten us about the important points on National Education Policy 2020 regarding hopes and aspiration of students pursuing higher education in India. And sir, I would like to add a few more points that the way you showed the connection and the relationship between creativity, invention, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and the framework of innovation system and the education system was quite aspiring. I'm sure all of us have great takeaways from today's talk, sir. Finally, once again, I would like to thank our principal, sir, who is the motivating force behind every successful activity that takes place in Shyamlal College, Dr. Monica Goyal ma'am, and the entire IC faculty team for their unending support and encouragement. All student council members working hard for every activity. Thank you all for your patience. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us your precious time. And we will look forward for more talks like this in future. Thank you, Kusha. Thank you, sir, for giving us your time. Thank you. Thank you, sir.